Lost in the heat of it all.
Hey guys, how are you? Episode 2 of Motivate and Educate. I'm with Mark Burns from Gerringong Physio. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Basically, we'll be talking about shoulder pain and Achilles tendon pain. I'm more than welcome different people on the segment, like Burnsy. He's a ton of knowledge. So we'll get straight underway. I'll just ask, Burnsy's going to address what the issue is. It's very common that we both see in our industries, and basically we want to address it, tell us how you treat it, and then we'll tell you how to try to prevent it from a training point of view and stretching. So
great. So we talk shoulders first. Shoulders are a real interest area of mine. It's a complex joint. It's a really sort of multi-directional joint. A lot of movement and a lot of input coming in from different muscular systems. The deep part of the rotator cuff controls the ball on the socket and the stability, and then obviously the other muscles around the outside do the big lifting, so your pecs and your bis and your traps and your lats. So probably one of the main injuries we see is rotator cuff pain, which normally presents with pain here. People say, I sort of saw at the front and saw down my arm a little bit. We need to make sure that we're rehabilitating and working things from the inside out. Yep. I guess one of the main ways people go wrong and why they develop pain is they're too tight at the front and too weak at the back. That's generalising, but it's often the case.
it's very common in a gym scenario as well.
Yeah.
You see a lot of, and you would see the aftermath of what happens, and I see firsthand why it's happening. Due to a lot of guys, and a good point is that from a visual look, a lot of guys want to have a big chest, and that's fine, but people don't actually realise, like I know me and you do, but when you just overloading that chest and overloading, what you're doing is you're drawing that shoulder forward so much that people don't realise. But if you could actually strengthen your lats, some scapular retraction, and actually lengthen through that chest, you look instantly what it does to you. It makes it look a lot bigger. So in turn, what they're actually doing is making themselves look smaller. So I guess so what we're talking about now is definitely stretching all the time, definitely working on back more so than chest. Doesn't say you shouldn't work chest, you should balance.
Yep.
But don't neglect it just because you can't see it, it's at the back. So
100%.
how would you go about treating someone that obviously you have certain tests you do and different formulas you like to work? But
we go through those cuff tests. A big one, like often the muscle that's overloaded and often inflamed or injured, is one called supraspinatus, which is the upper part of the rotator cuff, comes across the shoulder, dives in through the joint and attaches on the front here. As Tom's saying, we get tight through the front due to maybe improper training, but also just through life. We're here with our posture and cars and phones and this kind of thing. We're always here and shortening up. So that imbalance is a big one. So looking at how, in their assessment, how the shoulder sits on the shoulder girdle, what their muscle length is like around here. In the clinic, I'll use things like dynamometers to test muscle strength in terms of their ratio of turn out to turn in. I'm looking for that ratio, which should be 3:2, but also is there any pain on those movements? And we're trying to work out whether it's inflammation of the tendon versus something maybe a bit more serious like a tear. And we base our rehab on the strength and on what's going on there.
Yeah, so depending on the severity of the injury, you could get them, obviously you treat them and then you could get them back into the gym to progress through myself and yourself.
Yeah.
And would you advise straight away to get that scapular retraction and strong through the rhomboids or and posterior delts as well?
Perfect, absolutely perfect, mate. All that scapular setting stuff, just postural exercises at first. There might be bands. So I guess with the shoulder, another thing is to think about working from the outside in. So work on our deep stabilisers, our cuff. So it's whether you're rowing based ones to really sort of reset that shoulder back on the ball on the socket, the humeral head on the glenoid. So it might be with band exercises, with postural exercises, with more cable based ones. And then as they get stronger and if they're pain free, and then you progress towards away from the body. Up here's a later on one. Well, that's one of the things we see, that people have jumped through the stages too quickly and they think, I've got some shoulder pain, let's start doing some 3 kilos, that kind of stuff. And that could make things a lot worse. So just bring it from close to the body and more controlled exercises to more sort of functional away as we progress.
Just want to quickly touch on what Burnsy said. exactly what he said. So mate, you might not, if you're watching, you might not necessarily do a lot of chest and you say, well, I still have shoulder pain, I still forward. Exactly what Burns, he said, you're always, every one of us in life is always forward, whether you're a tradie on the shovel, whether you're at a computer, no matter what, when you're on your iPhone. So I guess this is only a real little thing, but you can be, you'll probably see me a few times doing this, trying to correct posture, and you look, Mark's got...
Same, because we're talking about it, we're doing it now.
Yeah, so that's what I want to refer to. Just, even if you're on your phone, like I know a lot of us are on our phones, and you have to be these days, it's just how it is, but try to be just conscious, shoulders back a little bit more when you're doing that kind of stuff. The second thing is, quickly, is I know I'll be the first to admit that I've been a trainer for 8 years or whatever, and I wasn't doing things wrong, but you can do it more right. So basically what I'm getting at here with this is just quickly, on your seated row, I want you all to try this. Next time you do it, it's all about instructional cues, I believe, that can make or break an exercise. So when you're doing a seated row, next time you do it, all us trainers, we always say, squeeze our finger, and that's right, you do that, but what happens is a lot of times your traps are overactive. So what we want to do is we want to retract the shoulders without bending the elbow to start. That instantly engages rhomboids. Yep. Then from there, it's only a small movement. Right? So, and what you can do the first 4, I believe, I did it the other day and I dropped weight massively, and it hurt so much more. So you retract, your arms are still straight, then you bend.
Yep, love it.
Arms are straight, then you bend, and you notice that you put your ego aside, your muscles don't know how heavy the weight is. Get your form right, and your gains and all that stuff will come massively.
Perfect, love it.
Yeah.
Same with the lat pull downs and those kind of things as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Achilles tendon pain.
Achilles tendon pain.
Very common.
Very common. Common in a lot of the gyms are running 6, 8, 10-week programs and that kind of thing, which is fantastic for motivation for people. In some cases, people are going from not much or nothing to a fair volume. So we get Achilles tendon pain with overloading, basically. The tendon and the collagen in the tendon breaks down. So we need to really be careful of monitoring and sort of periodising their training. So there's a few things maybe you can probably think of that overload the tendon a bit too quickly.
Yeah, so you see, like you said, if you're used to it, that's fine. But if similar to shin splints, like we get a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
It's just an overload from going from literally probably nothing to these crazy exercises, which cardiovascular they're fine, but sometimes the muscles can't and the tendons can't actually keep up with what we're doing. So so your incline treadmill sprints are pretty common that we see a lot, which again, we're not saying they're bad, but they can be if you've gone from next to nothing to bang out of the gates. And Mark would get a lot of people that exactly what he said. So you've gone from doing nothing to that, which you would see a lot of. And in terms of strengthening, we were talking about this the other day. A lot of people don't realise this, and I'm just pointing these things out so you guys can learn that when you're standing up and you're doing standing calf raises, then you're actually engaging more gastrocnemius, so the calf. And you can see even through there, that little muscle there that sits deep to your gastroc. When you're doing seated calf raises, so depending on what your gym has, then you're actually engaging more soleus. So you can explain to them why that's a bit more important than to actually strengthen those muscles before 100 miles an hour. I'm
big on sort of calf exercises. It's an area that's often neglected. Legs are often neglected in general, particularly calf muscles. It's in terms of that spring loading and power that we need for the lower limb, really, really important, as Tony's saying, really important we train both parts of the calf, so the longer part, the gastroc, which is a 2-joint muscle, so it comes from above the knee to below the heel, so hence a 2-joint muscle, as opposed to soleus, which is a deeper muscle and comes from sort of about a third down in the tibia underneath. They both bind in together and form the Achilles tendon, so it's important we train both parts. I must admit, years ago you'd see those machines in the gym, the seated calf raise ones, and you'd just walk past them, and even I used to think, it's a waste of time. What are you doing seated calf raises for? Why are you training postural muscles? But the reason is because we need to train the whole complex through there. We need to be strong through that whole part of the calf so it can take load, so take compressive load and ballistic load, jumping, so you can go back towards some of those high intensity things like your jump lunges and your box jumps and your hill sprints and those kind of things. Tendon injury comes from, overloading of the energy storage and release capacity of the tendon. I should have said before, A true tendon injury is diagnosed by, one finger worth of location of pain. So you jump at the knee, people say, I'm sore there. Achilles tendon, I'm sore there, like smack in the middle of the tendon. If it's a bit more going on, if it's sort of sore around and under the heel, it's not a true tendon pain.
Okay.
It could be some tendon pain, but other stuff going on. So that's sort of your one, if someone says, I'm really sore right there on my Achilles, and first thing out of bed I'm stiff and sore,
Yep.
that's, big ticks in the box for Achilles tendinopathy.
And first, so it's anyone watching with Achilles pain, first stage, would you say completely rest to start? And obviously, you always want to seek knowledge, so physios and etc. But would you say stage 1 to just rest and keep off it and see someone?
Offload, we need to find what do we call it, relative rest. So we might offload it by putting a 4 or 6 millimetre heel raise in the shoe, just to shorten up the Achilles for the first few days to offload it. We want to stay away from, again, those high energy storage and release, so our jump landing type stuff. Often they're quite happy on an exercise bike, so we can stay with the bike and cross trainers.
So no
Pretty happy with that, but no impact. So get away from your running, and we can go back towards some slow leg press and those kind of things, and building good strength, time under tension for tendons. Progression.
I like that point you made as well, how you said you used to walk past a seated calf raise, and we're both very, very open-minded people, but you're right, it used to be just the pure bodybuilders would do it. You'd see the big boys jumping on there, and you'd relate it to just a bodybuilding thing, but it's not the case, like you said, and the fact that, we're here admitting they're not wrongs, they're just we weren't so much aware of some more things we could be doing, so exactly why we're doing this kind of stuff for you guys. But it just shows you that even we're learning all the time, and to just never shut your mind off. If someone looks good, or someone's smart, or they've studied in a certain thing and they're doing something, just go up and ask them why you're doing that. I'm sure they're happy to help tell you, because I'm always picking Mark's brain and different people's brains about certain aspects, and you can always learn off people. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Other than that, Mark's got a new practice opening up in Kiama. When's that due?
Hopefully end of June, early July, mate. Yeah, pretty excited. So that'll join our Shoal Cove and Gerringong and Nowra, and I'll share my time between Kiama and Gerringong, and just try to provide good health care. It's try to be a good multidisciplinary practice, and we still need to find good health providers as well. Great chiros and osteos and massage therapists and naturopaths, and got to find what works. We've got unreal trainers here in Kiama, great facilities, great outdoor. Just where both Tom and I are really keen to just get people back to the fun stuff. Just get back to living our lives and being sort of passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. Well, I'll put the number there so anyone can give you guys a call.
Yeah, sure.
And anyone there is the go-to. I've personally seen about 5 of them. So there's anyone, just call up and see ya. Thanks, buddy.
No worries at all, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks.
Double D, big full breast on my baby.